Hey guys, I just wanted to go over this next project that I'm working on. This is the Die Cuts with View, the Far East stack. Now, ever since Graphic 45 had their bird song come out, I have really wanted to do one of an Asian descent album. I find it extremely pretty and very bold, which I love the big, bright, bold colors anyway. But yet there's lots of softness to it as well. I don't know if any of you have ever really seen this. Now this is a gold foil with red, and it's the fans. There's 24 different patterns in here. Well, I know some of the patterns are the same, but they're in different colors. And and they're all one-sided. There's 48 pages. But I really think this is going to be super pretty. There's another gold foiled one. And then and I love the writing. Now, I don't know. I apologize now. I'll make a disclaimer. I have some other things that I have pulled together to go along with this. And I'm sorry to any of you that I may be mixing Chinese and Japanese, and I don't know, because I'm just going with what I think looks pretty. And I've been collecting stuff for this for quite some time. That's just really, really soft, and then it's got writing in the back. For lack of a better term, it's oriental writing. I love this with the cranes. I also found some wonderful material, and if I find, yes, I've got that, so I will show you that. Well, let me show you that while I have this page. I made this pocket a while back, but I've got these cranes in the black. There's the crane, the leaves, and his tail. And then there's a little piece of it as well. But I made this. I do plan on making a journal with anything I have left. So that's what this will go in. But anyway. So I just was giving you a quick... There's just the one page of cut-aparts. But we all love those. Just giving you a quick look at these. Now there's this pattern, but it's in a different color. And then there's the cranes. And that's that. And then I've pulled through my stash because I love going shopping in my own craft room. So this is a shop my craft room kind of thing. This was a pink paisley paper. And it's one-sided. This is back from 2009. And I liked the red, and I liked the feel of the piece. You know, that kind of looked Oriental, Far Eastern to me. So that's what that is. This is a Kaiser Craft in the Attic collection. Now the back of it, I don't like for it at all. But the front, I do. And the colors look really good. Then the rest of this, I think, is birdsong paper. Now this is, I've got 3 pieces. This is the front and back, and then a third sheet of that I have. I don't know how I ended up with 3 of those, but I did. And then I've got a piece of this, and that's the back. I've got a piece of this, and that's the back. It's butterflies. And then I have one of these cut-aparts, which they're all very beautiful. And that's the back. You probably won't get to see that other than if you flip a card around. Now this is Bo Bunny's Serenity collection, and the colors actually work pretty well. It's a black, and this is the other side of it. And then I have this page, and this is the other side of it. So, you know, I think we've got some nice mix of colors that I can just, you know, just having one more option. And then this is a Amy Tangerine, an Amy Tangerine from American Crafts, and it just looked like the little hats that they wear, but you know, I used to own one. This is the Birdsong alphabet. This is the Birdsong tags too, the chipboard tags. And then this is the Bo Bunny Serenity chipboard pieces. And I love the way they do the word, you know, next to the imagery that it goes with. And then there's just some things that I have picked up. Chinese painting. Here's some prints that I have. And then I have this piece here. It's a hanky, but this is Filipino. I have this, which is actually a wedding invitation. Go figure, but I loved that, and it's got the cranes on it. I have some wood fan pieces here. I went into a little wood fan, so I've got those. These are some, I'm assuming from like what a Chinese restaurant would have or something, but I'm not sure. And I also have these playing cards. This is just on a piece of light cardstock. So, so there you go. But that is some of these, all of this, not much of this. I don't know. We're gonna try and do something interesting with this. So, if you want to look through your stash, anything you have, you don't have to do this. I'm going to do a step-by-step tutorial so you can follow along. You're going to need chipboard, and then you're going to need, you know, a ruler and scissors and paper cutter, you know, all the basics, glue, score tape, that kind of thing. So shop your craft room, pull out some stuff, and come along and make this with me, okay? And give me a thumbs up every time you get a video. That just helps me to know that you're really enjoying what I'm doing, and it also helps YouTube to know that you really like what I'm doing. Alright guys, thanks, and subscribe to me if you haven't already so that you won't miss when I post the next video on this, okay? Bye guys. Okay, so I have this brown paper, which is gonna go really nice, and sorry I have a boo-boo on here, so I'm wearing a really pretty, I tried to find a band-aid that had something cutesy on it, although I could put something cutesy on it, but too late now, you've seen it. Anyway, I only have this color brown, and I think it was 11 sheets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 sheets. And this is basil peanut fudge. But this looks really nice with almost all of the papers I have. So this is what I want to use. Now, I'm trying to think of things that I can do that I'm going to be able to have enough of this paper. So if I can cut one size of the page to be 6 inches, that's going to leave me 2 pages out of one, you know, 2 pages out of the one piece of paper, because I have to conserve this basic one here. So I'm thinking I'm going to go ahead now because you guys would not all of you may have the 12 by 12, which is, you know, what I'm going to be playing with, but not all of you will have this little extension on, you know, it's the barcode, the sales strip, but so I will be cutting that off because I'm going to try and do this step by step. But I'm kind of taking you along the journey of how I kind of figure out the size and how I would go ahead and figure out all of the stuff to go along with it. So, because I only have 11 sheets
and I know it takes a lot to do this, including tags and everything else. I don't have any more paper this color, and I do not want to go and do any more. This is shopping my craft room instead of shopping a store. It is shopping my craft room. And so anyway, if I can get 2 out of there and make a 5-page journal, which is what I think I'm going to do, is a 5-page journal. I mean, not journal, sorry, mini album, 5-page mini album. Then that's going to leave me a lot of paper left to do flips and flaps and pockets and tags and all that, all those goodies that need to be done. So, I think I'm going to cut these sheets in half. I'll cut the little barcode strip off, and then I'm going to cut them at 6. Then I was thinking if I did something that was like 6 tall, 8.5. Yeah, I think 6 by 8.5. 6 by. See, I had these as kind of a. This is 5.5. So imagine. Let me see. With this like this, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. So this is basically 6 by 8.5, and I think that's going to be a good size book. So that's kind of what I was thinking. Of course, the page will be 6 going this way, but I always add a 1/2 inch to this dimension and 1/4 inch if my spine is here, 1/4 inch to this dimension, and that'll give you 1/4 inch all the way around. Okay, so again, whatever your page is, this you'll add a 1/2 inch to figure out what your cover will be. And whatever your page is this way, as long as your spine is on this side, you know, as long as the spine's there, then you would only add 1/4 inch. Now I might try and make something a little more interesting, you know, maybe double fold in the front or something. So yeah, but anyway, so basic information for right now. Building out my pages, we're going to do like 6 by 8.5 or 6 by 8, because then that's going to leave 4-inch strips. If I do 6 by 8, I think that's what I'll do. So the page is going to be, but don't cut them just yet. I'm going to go ahead and cut these strips off and cut 3 sheets at 6 inches. And then, and because you can't really watch me do it because my cutter is over there, I'm going to go ahead and pause you. So yeah, blah blah, you don't need to hear me blah blah. So I'll be right back. Okay, so now I have what I know to be my height of my page. All right, I'm pretty sure I want this to be 8 by the 6. Okay, so I've got my 5 pages here. I did actually get a 6th one cut, but this one is going to go back into just my pile of cardstock. So we're going to take one at a time here. Now, you do not have to have these scoreboards. You can do just like a stylist or bone folder with a ruler and you know, score that way, or you can, if you have a smaller scoreboard, you know, whatever you have. Don't go out and buy stuff unless it's something that you're going to use over and over and over again. This is what I use to design my pages. Now this is not going to be a hard thing, because I mean, I can't do anything with the vertical. I can only play around with the horizontal. So, you know, really don't require much in the way of that. Now the first thing we're going to do is, this is going to be, I think Tammy Merrill created this hinge system, if you might, if you will, where you just put a 1/2 inch hinge on the end of the page, and then you glue that onto your spine area. And I think that's the one I'm going to do for this. Okay. Get that nice and straight. Okay. So I've got my first 1/2 inch. Now I want this to be 8 inches across. So I have to account for this first 1/2 inch. So right now, if I were to go to 8, this would be 7.5 inches across. So I'd have to go to 8.5 to make between this score line and this score line 8 inches total. So, and I'm looking at that page size, and I think I like that. I think it leaves me enough that I can do some fun things. I'm going to, I can never find my photo when I want it. Holy Hannah. Just like, it's ridiculous. I keep things pretty clean and neat and tidy, but every time I go to grab for that photo, it is gone. Vamos. Out of here. There it is. Okay, so here is a photo, and here is the page size. So that's going to leave good decorating room. You can also do 2 photos like this. It would go edge to edge, but you know, you can always cut a little bit off of photos. Most of the time you're you know, there's not every inch of it is really important. But anyway, so I think this is going to work for me. I think I really wouldn't want it to be any longer, because then I think it would start looking too funky. So I'm going to the first score is at 1/2 inch. The second score is at 8.5. Now, this page I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to score at 8.5. Now this page, this piece here, it goes from 8.5 to the 12. So that's 3.5 inches. Now, and you always want to fold towards the bump. You want to fold it into the mountain. But if I fold this, if I fold this, now I have an automatic flap. All right. Or I can cut it off, and then we can just build up the page. And I can flip it actually, you know, either side. So I have an automatic flap. I think I'm going to go ahead and put them on every one of these pages, and we'll just fiddle around with them and make them all different. But let's go ahead and do this with all of the pages. So we're going to do a 1/2 inch here, and at 8.5 here. There we go. 1/2 inch and 8.5. Half inch. You always want to make sure that you are pushing this up onto both sides here, okay? So it really fits up into that space so that you're not going to be crooked. And one more. And 8.5. Okay. So we can put this away. There we go. All right. I'm going to go ahead and fold these towards the mountain, but if I want to change them and fold them the other direction for some reason, I can. Now I'm making sure that I am straight. Yes. There we go. And then we're going to go ahead and fold this and make sure it's straight, because that's what's, if your hinge is off and you're not lined up along the edge on both sides here, then your page is going to start off crooked in the book, because it's going to be crooked from the hinge down. Okay? So those are two things where you really want to make sure you're taking your time and you're lining things up. And it's always good on darker paper to do it on something that's very high contrast. So you can see that it is lined up. So, and then make sure there we go. Okay. And get that just right. Okay. And fold this. There we go. Okay, and then once we get this done, we'll start. Now that I know the page size, we can either, and everybody has their own way of doing this, go ahead and work on making the book. So we've got my 5 pages. We could go ahead and make the book that this is going to fit into and get the pages in there and then start decorating them. Or you decorate the pages individually and then you go and put them in the book after you're done with them. I really can't tell you which way I like it better. With this method, you are pretty limited. I mean, and you want to be able to line this up, and I think it's going to be easier to do that when you have just a plain page and not all these, you know, flips and flaps and bangles and bobs and stuff that you're doing. So I would say my choice would be, let's make the book first to go along with our pages, set our pages in, and then we can decorate them and move forward like that. Okay? So now we're going to need some chipboard. Let's see, we're going to need chipboard, and I'm not going to cover this with brown paper. I'm going to cover it with pattern paper because I have way more of that than I have this. but that's your choice. If you want to cover it with pattern paper, then you'll do that first, but you'll do it in the same way that I'm going to do it with the pattern paper, okay? All right, so I'm going to get my chipboard, you get your chipboard, and we'll meet back here. You can have 8.5 by 11 chipboard because this is a 6 by 8 album, and that would work just fine. If you have the 12 by 12, then grab that. If you have cereal, if you only have cereal boxes, then maybe glue 2 of the cereal boxes together with those sizes. Cut those sizes out 2 times and do it. But I'll be back in a minute with sizes, okay? Hey guys, I just wanted to show you, this is an old, geez, well, actually I don't know how old because I don't know the date, but I think it's pretty old. But it's a denim, what did they call this? Denim cover and 6 thick craft chipboard. Oh, excuse me. Chipboard pages. So I don't know where the front page of this went. Okay, denim art journal. And it's an 8 by 10, and it's got really two cute, real cute covers, which I will find something to use these in. I think these are adorable. Yeah. So this might be in a project coming up really soon. But anyway, I have all these pages, which I don't do chipboard pages that much. I don't think very many people really do the chipboard pages too much. They're super cute on stuff. But anyway, I'm going to use these as my chipboard for my book. And a lot of times, you know, I'll find these chipboard albums, garage sales and stuff like that, and I grab them because it's chipboard. So here's some those little rings, book rings. So I'll put those with my collection of other ones that I have. So let me just stick this back in here. Oh, that sneeze got my nose going. Okay, so I think I'm going to have 3 of these because I don't think there'll be enough. My 6 by 8, that will leave 2 inches, and that might be enough because I'm only doing 5 pages, 1/2 inch each, so that's 2.5 inches. So no, there won't be enough, so I will need a 3rd one. But I also have scrap, so I'm going to look in my scrap for something that's large enough for a spine, so I'm not cutting a whole one. So give me a second and let me go and look in my scraps. Okay, it took me a second to find my black marker. I started to put these 2 a little close together, so I was calling them both heights. Anyway, so the page height. So our page height is 6 inches. So 6 inches, and then on the height part you add a 1/2 inch. So that will give you your cover height. And that gives you a 1/4 at the top and a 1/4 at the bottom. Your page width is 8 inches. For this particular book, our page is 8 inches. So you're at a 1/4 of an inch because one side's your spine, so you don't need to add anything for that. The other side is the end that you want to have the cover come out just a little bit further than this, okay? However, depending on the type of binding you're using. If you are doing like Kathy Orta's Hidden Hinge, you might want to add another, you know, like another 1/8 of an inch to this, because you put your page on, but you don't put it all the way down to the end. So it's going to be like an 1/8 of an inch longer. So you want to add that to this, okay? If it's her hidden hinge system plus, well, you've got a whole 1/2 inch plus whatever you have that doesn't cover the rest of the hinge that you're actually putting your page on. So you have to add that. So whatever the distance is from where the page actually stops to the spine, you need to add that distance to this bottom, to this number as well. This one, however, this is going to be sitting flush on the spine. I hope that makes sense to you. But this one's flush on the spine, so you're only going to need the 1/4 inch, so that you'll have a 1/4 inch all the way on the 3 sides. So this will be 8 1/4. All right, so 6 1/2 by 8 1/4 is what we need to cut our covers. Okay, and I have these are each a 1/2 inch. That is going to make, when you add 1/2 inch 5 times, that's 2 1/2 inches. So that's what my spine's going to be, and I like that. That's not too big and it's not too small, and that's going to give us a 1/2 inch on each page for embellishments, ephemera, all that kind of stuff. Okay, so 2 1/2 inches is our spine. So for the spine, you're going to add, on these, you add up what each one of your little hinge ones are. On Kathy Orta's or Stack the Deck, you're going to know it when you actually create the hinges. You'll know what the spine's going to need to be. So anyway, so we need 2 1/2 inches to get these guys all in a row. So our spine will be 2 1/2, and by the 8, no, 2 1/2 is the width. The height is going to be 6 1/2. Okay, so 2 1/2. It really should be, sorry, it really should be your height by your width, I think. I don't remember. No, you do the width first, don't you? Okay, 2 1/2 by 6 1/2. Anyway, so now we have, I've told you how to do your spine and your, you know, so that we can get the cover. This goes, this is your cover size for all 3 pieces. All right. Now I want to have and I did find I took out a 3rd piece of this because I do want to have a piece that comes over the top. Okay. Now this is, I think this is going to be an 1/8 inch. And what you would do is put 2 of these together, and if 2 of these together is a 1/4 inch, now 2 of these is an 1/8 inch. So it's fairly strong, but it's pretty thin, okay? And this one is the same. So as long as your spine is kind of, you know, close to what your regular cover is going to be, you're good. And I think I have at least 5 inches here. I have 6 1/2. So I can do 2 spines out of this. Now one spine, I'm going to do the 2 1/2. So it's going to be 2 1/2 by the 6 1/2. Okay, so that'll give me my height and my width. Width is the first one. And then the second one, I'm going to add an 1/8 inch. So this is going to be 2 3/8 by the 6 1/2. And that way my second spine, so I'm going to have my first spine, which is going to be the 2.5 by 6.5, is going to be on this side. And I'll have my back and front covers. Then I'm going to have another spine over here. This one I'm going to make 1/8 of an inch longer so that when I flip my flap over to come on top, that it has enough room that I can still put paper on here and paper on here, and it's still going to lay over nicely. All right, you can do 1/8 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch and still be okay. If you're going to want to put like a pocket or build this up at all, or this up, the inside up at all, then you're going to add more and more to this side of the spine. I really wouldn't go much past 1/4 or 1/2 an inch, just because then I think, you know, you're going to definitely have, you know, it's fatter on one side than it is on the other. And you still want your book to look pretty, you know, identical. So I'm gonna think on whether I want 1/8 of an inch, because if I add anything to these, no, I think I'm gonna do the 1/8 of an inch, because you're still gonna have that little add-on from how I do my hinges in between the two pages, and that's going to give me a little bit more space as well. So I'm just going to add 1/8 of an inch. So that's what your two spines, you're going to need two, one of this one and one of this one. Okay, can you see that? One of this one and one of this one. You're going to need one of these. Sorry, you're going to need two of these, 6.5 by 8.25. All right, so there's that part. Now we're going to want to figure out how much over, so this is 8 inches. So here you can see this is going to be, you know, 8.5. But how much over am I going to want this to come? Am I going to want it to come like halfway across the book? And I think so. I think I will want that. So I'm going to make, if I'm 8.5, I'm gonna make it at 4. And I think I'm going to be using these. This is Heartfelt Creation Classic Border Basics die cuts. Now, if you don't have die cuts, you don't have to worry about this at all. And I'm not sure that this is going to cut through this. But I'm going to take a piece of scrap and try it, and if it does, then I probably will try and do some kind of neat border on here. But if it doesn't, then I'm not going to worry about it too much either. So and maybe, you know what, maybe I'll just save it for the pages. I'm just gonna do this. So then we're going to want one page for the fold over cover. I want it to be 4 inches by 6.5 inches. All right, so you'll need one of those, you'll need 2 of these, and you'll need one of these and one of these. Okay, guys, so I hope everybody can understand my sloppy writing. Okay, but just pause it if you aren't getting these figured out or don't know what you're looking at. This right here is the actual page. That's your actual page right there, and this is what you're adding for clearance. There we go. Okay, Okay, okay. So I'm gonna cut mine, you cut yours, and we'll be right back. Now I wanted to do just a quick thing. I have this, and it's really not that expensive. It's a Fiskars, and it's the rotary. And you can get them at Michael's, Joann's, and you can use the coupon on them. And they're, like I said, they're really not that expensive. This is great for cutting chipboard. If you use your regular cutter to cut chipboard, use an old blade. If you use your blade that you got on there that's cutting paper still nicely, it's going to dull it up fast. If you use an old blade that won't cut paper anymore, it will cut chipboard. So the thinner the paper, the sharper the blade has to be. So the thicker it is, the duller the blade, okay? So if you ever have put a really thin piece of paper in and ran your cutter across it and it jams it up, tears the paper, that's because your blade has to be super, super sharp. So if you put another piece of paper with it and go and cut that thin piece of paper with a little piece of cardstock or a scrap piece of something with it, it will cut very nicely. So just a tip for you on that. But so if you don't have this, which don't go out and buy it, if you've got a nice cutter, just save your old cutting blades and use those to cut your chipboard, because it'll work perfectly. Your chipboard and like your cereal boxes, okay? All of those, cut those with your old blades.
All right, I'll be right back.
Okay, so I have this piece of material. It's a nice cotton that I picked up Joann's, I think. But it says here, designed in Hudson, Ohio and printed in South Korea. So, but it's really, really, really pretty, and I think it goes with my whole theme. I wish I would have bought just a little bit more, but this is enough. And I didn't realize how little I had, so I'm very happy that it's only 6.5, because this is about 7.5 inches. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 3/4. So not a whole lot to flip over, but it's going to be just fine. So that's what we're going to do now. And I did want to make sure that I gave you the wrong number on the 2 spines. The first one at 2.5 by 6.5 was correct. Then I said 2 3/8 instead of 2 5/8 because I needed to add an 1/8, not subtract an 1/8. So 2 5/8 by 6.5. Okay, so those are the 2 spines that you need. I'm sorry. Hopefully when I'm sitting there telling you 2 3/8 that I'll put a little correction there. But if I didn't, please make sure you're catching that now. So 2.5 by 6.5 and 2 5/8 by 6.5. Now, if you already cut the 2 3/8 and the 2.5, then just put the 2 3/8 where I'm going to put the 2.5, and put the 2.5 where I'm going to put the 2 5/8. And you should be fine. Just as long as the larger one is on the left-hand side of the back of the book. I'm sorry, the right-hand side. I'm doing this. You guys are probably yelling at me. This is left, or loser. So as long as the 2 5/8 or the largest spine, width of spine, is on the right-hand side, top of the book facing up, and your smallest spine is on the left-hand side, top of the book facing up, okay? So anyway, 2 5/8 by 6.5, 1. 2.5 by 6.5, 1. 4 by 6.5, 1. 8 1/4 by 6.5, 2. Okay, So now we have all our pieces and parts. We're also going to need some glue all, some way of spreading the glue all. I got this little plastic thing that, I don't know, I've been trying to get better at using. Let's see. But you can, if you got it, I thought I had some credit cards here, around here somewhere. Sorry about that. Oh, goodness gracious, there they are. I mean, you always get these kind of things. This is National Wildlife Federation. So, you know, whatever you got that's going to kind of spread it around, or you can brush it. Just, you know, use a cheapo brush. And if you have some kind of, this is called a paint guide, but it's gonna go over the whole page and kind of spread things out nicely. And it also helps when you're trying to fold over, especially if you have just a little bit, but when you're trying to fold it over and lay it down, this helps to hold the whole thing down. But I'll show you how I use that in just a minute. Okay, so now this is going to be way too long for me to fit it all into the book. But we're going to take first one of our 8 1/4 by 6 1/2. So this is the first part of your book. And I want to make sure, I don't think there's an up or a down on this, because this guy's up, this guy's down, this guy's up, this guy's kind of sideways. So I don't think there's really a top or bottom on this. And I do believe that one side is just a titch. Yeah. Okay. So I am going to start over here at this. I'm going to start over here at this end. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to glue this down, okay? So I'm gonna, and I usually take the lid off of the, I don't have time or the strength in my hands to get enough of it down. And I am trying to get better at using these. I know these are cheapo things, but I'm gonna try it with this. And if it takes me too long, I'll flip it around. But as you all know, glue all does not dry that fast. But we want to get this over all of the edges. So first thing, just kind of get it all spread out close to the edges, so you're getting the biggest bulk of the board, and then you can start dragging. Then you're not working with such big puddles trying to play around with the edges. Okay, so now I'm going to try and put some of this back, because I'm not interested in having loads on it. Okay, that's good. Make sure it's still, because the board does soak up some of it. Okay, and then I'm going to lay this over, and I want to get it especially centered top and bottom. Now we're going to flip this over, and I'm going to take this, and I'm going to start from the center, and I want to pull out. I'm not pulling super hard because I'm not trying to stretch the material too much, but I am trying to stretch it so I know that I don't have any bubbles and stuff, okay? So there you go. And then you probably are going to want some wet wipes. If you push too hard, you're going to be getting a lot of glue come through, and you don't really want that. So you're just pushing hard enough so that you're making sure that it's stretched out, but not so much that you're squishing all that glue up through the cotton. But you do want good, it's kind of finding a happy medium, and you're just going to have to play with how much you're pushing. How much you're pushing. Okay, so now I'm going to flip, I flip this back over. You do want to make sure that you have got the corners down. And we can go back after it's starting to dry and put a little more glue down. Okay. Now, I'm going to pull this over and make sure I've got my material straightened back up again. And we're going to take the smallest of the two spines, and that's next. And we are going to give ourselves about 1/4 of an inch. And if you want to take a ruler, you can totally take a ruler and use it as a base, okay? Plus you can mark out your 1/4 of an inch. But first, let's see. I'm going to put the glue on this side because I don't know what color paper I'm using, and I don't want this to show through. Kind of just like butter and bread. Okay. I can see it just absorbing in. So I'm just kind of keep moving the puddles around. Make sure that I've got enough glue on there. Put this down. Find my 1/4 of an inch. Now that was okay. There we go. I'm not doing it quite 1/4 of an inch. I changed my mind once I saw what kind of stretch. I'm kind of doing it 3/8 of an inch. Once I see that this cotton is kind of stretching a little bit more. And I think that right at this moment, once I flip it over, I'm going to get my big heavy book out and put it on it. So I'm going to flip this over and make sure that I'm not got any bubbles. Okay. And I can see that I'm needing a little bit more glue. I put way too much. Woohoo! And, oh, moving my lights and everything. I am going to go ahead and take a break. Put my big heavy book down on this. And let it sit for a few minutes. So, I'm going to put the lid back on my glue. Let me wipe. Try and keep your glue bottles very neat and tidy. Okay. So I will be back. You see how I've done this. So the next part is going to be your next large sheet. And then you're going to put your largest spine down next to that. And then you're going to put your 4x6.5 down next to that. And as soon as I'm done, I'm going to do the same process with all three of these. I will come back and I'll show you what I've got. Alright, so we have got the book. All of this is dry. I did get a little bit of warpage, but that will work its way out. Now, the next thing that I like to do, and you can do this on, some people do it on the front and the back. I tend to not do it that way, but you know, you totally can. And I'm just gonna kind of give this a little cut right here. Just looking for, and then I'm gonna give this a little cut. And this. So I'm gonna need 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. They don't have to be this. In fact, I probably don't need to. They don't have to be this wide. It can be just about like that. I'm going to take my Fabri-Tac, which I am about to run out. I think I got another bottle, but I don't know. I have to get another 40% off coupon and go to Michael's or Joann's and get myself some more. That's where I get mine from. So I don't buy too much from Michael's or Joann's anymore, but I do get a lot of my, you know, Mod Podge, glue, and I use the percent off coupons. Sometimes if I'm looking for something very specific, you know, that they have, I'll go there. Joann's more for fabrics and laces and stuff, but even then I don't, you know, I pretty much got everything they got now in laces and not interested. There. Okay, so I'm going to run a bead on the actual material in between. I didn't get too much right there. And then a little bit on each side. Okay, and I'm going to leave the glue hanging upside down. And then I'm just going to take this, I'll lay it, and I'm going to push it in so that it's actually making contact with the material. And there we're going to have a nice, that is going to reinforce the material on our hinge. Okay, it's going to reinforce that, make it that much stronger, and it's going to also make the book just that much more stronger. Okay. This one I didn't get quite as loose. I mean, what do you call the spacing is a little tighter. Still, it's still very nice spacing, but it's not quite the same as the other ones. I'm going to kind of pull it apart a little bit just to help get it the way I want it. Okay. And again, you know, if you're not getting all of this outside edge glued down, that's no biggie. No biggie whatsoever. I love doing the fabric covers. It just gives the book, I don't know, just a different feel than a paper cover. And, you know, now, if you're not careful, some of the fabrics that you choose can show the dirt, but then again, some of the paper covers that you choose will show the dirt. I'm just going ahead and doing the other two of these together. So, you know, in the long run, there's not a huge difference between, let's see, I got, get that wiped off of there, and then the rest of it should just fall right into place. I'm just gonna do this pretty quickly. Oop. And this. There we go. Okay, I'm going to cut the remainder, leaving myself just a little bit on the end. And I tell you, having some shears that you only use for material or lace or ribbon is a wonderful thing. They're not very expensive, but get a pair, tie a piece of ribbon around it or something so you know that that is not a pair of scissors that you use on anything else. Because once you put paper to scissors, you're dulling them up big time. So we don't want to do that. Do not want to do that. Okay. And you can't see it, but I've got little ridges now in between where I'm gonna have a nice edge. Nice edge. Yeah, nice finished edge. Very nice. Okay, perfect. Okay, so use this again. Now with material, let's just leave that there for a second. You kind of do it, you know, you can do it the same way. I'm just gonna get rid of the bulk, but you're gonna leave yourself enough to cover the corner of the chipboard or whatever it is that you've got for your cover. So I'm just kind of angling, just like I do my paper. This is going to work pretty much exactly the same. Okay. And I'm going to do my long side first. Come on, glue. I am really going to have to get some more. I'm sorry, I should have thought of that before I started. Well, that's 3 and 1. That's not. Okay, I do have a new bottle. Let me see how well I can do with this one. Oh, forget it. I'm having a squeeze to beat the band. I'm just going to get my new bottle out. It's always so much easier. Well, I say it's always so much easier. Well, this one's got a weird top to it. Let me see. It's split and it's funky. Funky monkey. Oh, yeah. It would be very smart. Let's see, where's my, here it is. Very smart to get the little, told you it's a new bottle. You want to take the little thingy out. New bottle. Gotta love it. Okay, I'm going to take it all the way across. And I'm just going to lay it down. Remember, I don't have a ton of it. And let's see, where did I put my little my little clippity clippity, my little clip, my little blip, where did I put it? Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm making no sense because I can't think of the name of it either. Yes, that thing. The spatula. The trowel looking thing. This is where it really comes in handy, and of course now I don't know what I did with it. Have no clue. I found it. So you start from the back and you just scrape it over like this. And you see, you can push down on more of it at one time. And you really want to make sure that you're kind of stretching that around the chipboard. Okay? Alright, let's make sure we've got no wrinkles all along here. Nope, looks good. Okay. Okay, flip her around. So I'm going to do the same thing. Okay. Start in the center and pull. Now one thing you want to make sure is that you're not flipping this back over on the back side with glue on it. And also make sure that you are getting it pulled around. Okay. Make sure before I continue on that I've got no, yes. Okay, and then we're gonna pull this around. See, now this has had a time to kind of set up, so it really grabs the material pretty well. And I didn't put glue over there quite enough. There we go. Make sure. Oh, it looks so pretty. Looks so pretty. Okay, and then we're going to do the same thing. I am going to put just a dollop of glue, and I'm going to fold the material over and let that catch. And I'm forming it around all the edges and just kind of hold it there till it dries. No, just this one I didn't really have enough to fold over. I'm just kind of pinching it, but I do want to make sure that I fold over just a little bit. I don't want my raw edges sticking out either. Then I'm just holding it down. And if I get this on my fingernails, I forgot about that, it'll take the finish off my fingernails. Well, it'll take the polish off if I really get them on, but okay. And I'm putting some glue, and I'm pulling. And did I get raw edges? Pretty much. Yeah. Okay. There we go. And flip her around so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to put just a dollop, just a little smidge. I don't really have, dang it. Sorry. Spending so much time on my fingernails, but I love this glue, but it does not, it really loves fingernail polish. I just want to make sure I'm getting those raw edges over there. Raw edges. Let me put maybe a titch of glue up the side, just a little bit, so that you can actually give that material something to hang on to. There. There we go. There we go. Now, what's exciting is watching paint dry. I know it. Oh, it's getting late. It's getting very late. But I wanted to at least get this finished up. Okay, and just a little bit of this. And then I'm gonna have to figure out what material, I mean not what material, because I figured out that I'm gonna do paper. Oh, see now I folded a little too much on this side because I'm not gonna have, there we go. Let me get this. I wasn't gonna have some of the chipboard covered up. Okay, I'm just pulling this and letting it dry. And if some of it wants to pop up, you'll just clip it off. Just clip it off. Okay. Oh, I'm loving this. Yeah, I think this is really cool. Now, you know, maybe not for a regular album, but for a Far Eastern type album, I think it's really cool. Okay, so now I'm just gonna pick my paper that I'm gonna put on the inside and stick the pages in. So let me clean up. I'll pick the papers and I'll be right back.